It's official. At WrestleMania, we're getting Roman Reigns versus Goldberg for the Universal Championship and John Cena versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt. Just as many of us suspected coming off a Super Showdown on Thursday. And on paper, yes, I will admit it is a stronger WrestleMania card for the SmackDown side compared to what we were originally supposed to get between the then Universal Champion Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns, John Cena versus Elias. That would not have been as compelling. Reigns and Wyatt. I mean, I can go on about this for an hour, and I won't because this is all about SmackDown and not Super Showdown. If you want my thoughts on the pay-per-view, check out Wrestle Rant Radio, the full podcast, available every single Thursday on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Google Play, and everywhere else you can get your podcast. But cheap plug aside, this is not about Super Showdown. This is dealing with the fallout from Super Showdown. This is my review for Friday Night SmackDown for February 28th, 2020. And first and foremost, Happy Leap Day. It only comes once every 4 years. Once every 4 years. I think I did a hashtag AskGSM on the last Leap Day 4 years ago. So I have posted on Leap Day before. This is not breaking new territory, unfortunately. But hey, I love Leap Day nonetheless. I'm going to be making history today as far as, not making history on a grand scheme, but for myself, and going to a wrestling show on Leap Day, an Evolve show in New York City that I'm looking forward to. My first and probably only ever show, unless something happens in 2024 or 2028, which I don't think there will be, but you never know. My first ever wrestling show on a Leap Day. And there's a lot going on today. I know there's a Ring of Honor show today. I think they had one last night that I did not yet watch, probably won't watch until like Monday or so. They're having a show today. Evolve's having a show today. The AEW Revolution pay-per-views today. I feel like there's something else going on tonight too. Maybe like an Impact Twitch special or something. I saw a lot of things advertised for Leap Day. So apparently wrestling is all about Leap Day all of a sudden. But we had SmackDown last night that did give us a clear picture of what we can expect at WrestleMania, as I just said, with Roman and Goldberg and John Cena and The Fiend. So speaking of Roman Reigns and Goldberg, Goldberg came out making his new entrance as the new Universal Champion. Not the first time. We saw him as Universal Champion 3 years ago, so this really isn't anything new. But the boos were. When Roman, the biggest difference that I, have noticed here, not that a lot of people brought this comparison up, and obviously there is a lot of similarities, when Goldberg beat Kevin Owens to win the Universal Championship 3 years ago, he did not come out to boos the next night on Raw. He was not booed going into WrestleMania. He was booed a little bit at WrestleMania, and I was there, so I would know. And it obviously came across a little on TV, too. But, by that point, people were kind of tired of the whole Goldberg thing, and had he won, he probably would have been booed. Not that Brock Lesnar was this up-and-comer that absolutely needed to win the championship, but it was like the lesser of two evils between the two, because Goldberg had, run its course, and it was whatever, and he had a great run, but he was not as despised in the 3 or 4 months that he was around for then as he is now in beating Bray Wyatt. And it's not like he beat Brock Lesnar for the championship. He beat Kevin Owens, a fellow full-timer, a lot like Bray Wyatt. But he didn't come out either the next night or the next week or whatever getting booed, the same way that he did here. And I think a big reason for that is that, Kevin Owens had been champion for a long time back in 2017, 2016. He was champion for not 8 months, but at least 7 months. He won the title in late August. He held it through September, October, November, December, January, February, and a little bit in March, and then dropping it. So he was champion for quite some time, about 6-7 months. And the biggest difference, though, is that A, a lot of people suspected it. B, Kevin Owens really was not that great of a champion. And I will be the first one to admit that. Not that Bray Wyatt's reign was 10 times better, but he was better booked. Owens was always fucking losing. He was made to look like a loser. He was not as special as Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, they had built him up to be this dominant monster heel. For when he finally lost, it would mean something. It didn't really mean anything on Thursday. I mean, it did, in the wrong way, with Goldberg beating him. But the thing is that, Goldberg doesn't get the rub. Not that Roman getting the rub would be that much better, but at least the guy's on the active roster. I mean, again, I've already discussed this before. I've already beaten this to death, so I won't discuss it too much more here. But, I don't know. I still don't understand that decision 48 hours later to take the championship off of The Fiend. He wasn't booed 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Go back and watch it on the network. He was not booed. Unless my ears were deceiving me, and he was, and I have revisionist history here. But I don't think Goldberg was as hated coming off of that finish the same way that he was here. He got audible boos on Friday coming out in Boston. making his entrance in the ring, cutting his promo, if you can even really cut it or call it a promo. It lasted all of 10 seconds. He said it didn't really matter who was last. All that matters is who's next. Which brought out Roman Reigns, of course. And they go one-on-one, they go face-to-face. And Roman says, I think I'm next, or something along those lines. And that was it. The segment lasted all of 2 minutes. 2 minutes was really all it took to set this match in stone for WrestleMania, which again, shorter is better. Short, sweet, straight to the point. I don't mind that. This played out predictably. Predictable isn't always a bad thing. Roman or Wyatt winning would have been predictable, but that's the decision they needed to do to build up Bray Wyatt going into WrestleMania. They didn't do that. So I'm not saying predictability is a bad thing in this case whatsoever. The thing is that people booed, and they cheered Roman Reigns. That is also worth pointing out. Nor do they have any reason to boo Roman Reigns. But I think it's becoming clear to a lot of people, not that this was the sole reason why they did the title change, but they did this to get Roman cheered. Not that he was being booed before, because, by and large over the last year, he's gotten some pretty favorable reactions. At WrestleMania, he didn't. He was kind of booed there for whatever reason. And was he on Raw the next night? I don't think so. They kept him off that show for a reason. Let's put it that way. But yeah, so they're doing this to get him cheered. It's that obvious. Not the sole reason again, but they want to give him a bigger. I don't know. I don't really think having him beat Goldberg means as much as having him beat the Fiend, the first one to slay the Fiend. I think they probably would have the same amount of effect. The same amount of impact. The only difference is that Roman would probably be booed for beating the Fiend because people like the Fiend. Having him beat Goldberg, would he be cheered more? Absolutely, but it's the same song and dance from 4 years ago when he beat Triple H at WrestleMania 32, and he was like, the WWE mindset was that, Triple H is a part-timer. He'll take the championship off of him and get a big rub, and he'll be cheered for being this conquering hero. He really wasn't, though. He really wasn't, was he? I don't remember this giant reaction when Roman Reigns became WWE Champion for the third time in 3 months, back at WrestleMania 32 4 years ago. I do not remember that. Unless my ears were deceiving me again, I don't think so. So I just wanted to point that out. I think Roman and Goldberg, contrary to popular belief, I don't hate the match. The issue is that it makes no fucking sense. Because it came completely out of nowhere. Do you think this was the plan 2 months ago? A month ago even? No, it wasn't. Goldberg even admitted as such that they didn't call him to come back until right after the Rumble. So they were probably thinking about changing plans as early as, late January, early February. Not anywhere near as far back as December, November, October. They were probably going off the plan of having it be Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns. Not as a tentative plan either before plans changed. Because that just makes sense. Having Bray Wyatt hold that championship, all the way to WrestleMania, and having him drop it there, regardless to who it was, Roman Reigns would just make the most sense. The guy hasn't been champion in a couple of years. Let's stop with this notion that he's been shoved down our throats recently, because he really hasn't. Had he won the Rumble, that would be a different issue. My issue with this segment, again, the match might be I think it's interesting. I've been wanting to see Roman and Goldberg since Goldberg came back 3 years ago. My issue with this segment is that Roman just shows up and gets a fucking title match. How much sense does that make? This is not a Roman Reigns problem. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to hear it like, oh, you're fucking Roman Reigns hater. This has nothing to do with Roman Reigns. It kind of does because he was the one who is challenging or will be the one challenging for the championship at WrestleMania. Why the fuck can he just show up and get a title shot? What the fuck? Drew McIntyre had to win the 30-man Royal Rumble to get his title shot with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Why does Roman Reigns just get to show up and be like, I'm facing you? Now again, the thing is this. I know people will argue, if they did Elimination Chamber, it would just be predictable. People would be bitching about that. Yeah, but it earns him a title shot. Shayna winning the Chamber, again, it gives her a big win. I'm not really sure how big of a win beating the Riot Squad is, but it's a win nonetheless on pay-per-view. That match sells itself. Not that Roman and Goldberg doesn't, but for the championship, you got to explain why they're facing for the championship and why Roman doesn't have to do anything to earn it. And no, beating Baron fucking Corbin 6 times does not constitute as him earning a title shot. If he was losing those matches, that would be another story, but he's won most of his matches in recent weeks. That still doesn't excuse the fact that he did nothing to earn a title shot. Again, if they had history and, there was a reason there, or they teased it many months ago, then I would be kind of okay with it. The issue is that he did nothing to earn it. Instead, they're doing a tag team title elimination chamber match for absolutely no reason. They're doing a Raw Women's Elimination Chamber match for absolutely no reason. Shayna and Becky have already established their feud before, the match was even announced. Shayna showed up on the main roster and beat the shit out of Becky Lynch. That right there should constitute a title match. Not because Shayna did anything to earn it, aside from being, impressive in NXT and being one of the longest reigning NXT Women's Champions of all time. But Becky would want to accept a match because she wants to get her hands on Shayna Baszler. That's booking 101. Does Goldberg desperately want to get his hands on Roman Reigns so he just accepts the match? No, because there's zero history there. They've had, maybe one face-off in 4 years? 3 years ago? I don't know. I don't really think that's enough to constitute to justify making the match official without having Roman Reigns win some sort of number one contenders match, whether it be on SmackDown or at the pay-per-view. I don't know. It just seems silly to me, that's all. And I'll talk more about the lack of logic with the Roman Reigns, or rather with the John Cena Fiend shit later on. So then we were supposed to get Bayley versus Naomi in a rematch from Super Showdown. The SmackDown Women's Championship was not on the line here. The match went all of maybe 2 minutes, and most of that, consisted of Sasha Banks coming out, making her grand return to SmackDown. We have not seen Sasha on SmackDown in several weeks. She came back in Boston, got a pretty good reaction, and then they proceeded to lose. There's got to be some sort of a story here, or at least I would hope. I mean, again, I'm probably giving them too much credit because I just got done ranting about the nonsense with Roman and Goldberg and everything else with The Fiend. They just don't know what the fuck they're doing over on the SmackDown side of things. I would hope that they're to me, when they lost the tag team match, so it was Naomi and Lacey beating Bayley and Sasha. I don't hate the outcome. It just seems weird to bring back Sasha in her hometown, get a great reaction, and then have her lose. Granted, she wasn't pinned. Bayley was pinned. Which, yeah, champs are chumps and all this other stuff, and I get that. And it probably sets up Naomi for one more match for the SmackDown Women's Championship, I would assume, at the pay-per-view. Now, the fact they've already done Naomi and Bayley twice in the span of 2 days tells me that they're not doing it at WrestleMania. Unless they do some sort of four-way, which to me it feels like we're already going to get a bunch of four-ways at WrestleMania between probably the U.S. Championship match with Andrade, Angel, Humberto, and Rey Mysterio. And then on the SmackDown side of things for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. They may not do that. I mean, now that we're getting an Elimination Chamber, I don't know why you would do another multi-team match at WrestleMania, but that's just the direction I see them going in. Anyway, they could do that. It would feel like overkill to me personally. I hate the notion of multi-man, multi-woman, blah, 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 WrestleMania. We're already getting 2 Battle Royals. Enough is enough. 1 or 2 fatal 4-ways, maybe. A third one is overkill. If they are indeed going in that direction, I would rather have it be Bayley and Naomi straight up, which at this point doesn't make much sense because the Super Showdown match really wasn't that good. Probably because the crowd, had something to do with it, but they just didn't really click. And I think they could have a better WrestleMania match, but they would have to really build it up, and it doesn't feel like they're going in that direction. I still do think they're probably going to do Bayley and Sasha at this point. Naomi and Bayley seem to make sense until they change plans. Bayley and Sasha at this point seems to make the most sense. Sasha comes back, her best friend loses for their team. Because why else would you have Bayley get pinned unless they want to tease tension within Sasha and Bayley, I hate the idea of either of them going face anytime soon. Bayley has sucked as a heel. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Her heel run has been a complete flop. The matches have sucked. The promos are even worse. My God, the promo she cut on the show, calling the crowd little idiots, I cringed. I love Bayley. You guys know, hopefully, I've said it before, I'm a big Bayley fan. You wouldn't know it from the past couple months, because she's been booked to look like shit, despite being the champion since October. For almost 5 months, she's been the SmackDown Women's Champion. Before that, she was champion for about 5 months. From May to, September or October or whatever the fuck. But now, it's just, I don't know. I don't think anyone cares. I just don't think anyone cares at all. So I think they're going to be setting up Bayley and Banks for WrestleMania. I don't know how they get there, but it seemed like they had planted the seeds here with Sasha kind of showing some, not disgust, but a disappointed face at Bayley after they lost the tag team match. So people probably want to cheer Sasha anyway, so you can kind of keep her heel edge, but maybe turn her babyface. I don't know. But the match was all right. I thought the tag team match was okay. It sucks that Naomi would probably end up back in the Battle Royal that she won 2 years ago and that she was in last year too. And she's had her fair share of WrestleMania moments, so she doesn't have to be in that match at WrestleMania. But it seems like at this point, coming off what we saw this past week, more people want to see Bayley and Sasha than Bayley and Naomi. So we'll see where they go with it. I think Bayley and Sasha is a great WrestleMania match, and it's probably stronger than Naomi and Bayley. But I think Naomi and Bayley could have worked had they not given it away at Super Showdown and in front of a crowd that did not give two shits. But anyway, I thought this was all right. So we then had Robert Roode knocking off Kofi Kingston. Decent match. He won with a distraction roll-up, because what else is fucking new? You know, the funny thing is that I think we got a DQ on this show with Bayley and Naomi. Did we get another one? No. Yeah, just on this show with Bayley and Naomi before it turned into the tag team match. I said to Alexis while we were watching the show, and by the way, she had no aspirations of watching SmackDown. The only reason we watched it together, because I was with her on Friday, was because I had to watch it because I had a lot of work to do because I'm going to Evolve later. So I had to watch the show. So she didn't really have much of a choice, unless she wanted to sit in the other room, but what would be the point of that, you know? So anyway, I said to her while we were watching the show that, AEW, not to compare the two, but it is worth noting that AEW had their first DQ finish. It wasn't even a finish, it was just for a fall in that Iron Man match on Wednesday's Dynamite, in the match between Pac and Kenny Omega, the Iron Man match, an amazing match, by the way. WWE, on average, does like 2 a day. Literally, like we saw one here, and they did another one on 205 Live later on in the night, or I guess it was taped beforehand, whatever, when Leo Rush beat Tony Nese by DQ after interference from Mike Kanellis. That's crazy. They do one literally every show. One every episode of Raw, SmackDown, sometimes even NXT. It's ridiculous, but yeah. So the match was all right. Roode won via the heel tactics. I'm not really sure why the New Day had their sights set on Roode and Ziggler, coming off their tag team title loss to Miz and Morrison at Super Showdown. But again, it just further fuels my speculation that it will be a fatal 4-way tag team title match at WrestleMania with either Roode and Ziggler or Roode and Corbin. That's probably why they had Roode in the spot, because Roode and Kingston kind of seemed like a weird match to me. It's fresh. It's better than Kingston and Ziggler for the millionth time. But I assume they're building up Roode and Corbin, assuming Ziggler faces Otis at WrestleMania to face the New Day, the Usos, and Miz and Morrison for the tag team titles. And again, that might have changed just because we are getting an elimination tag team title match for whatever fucking reason next Sunday at the pay-per-view. But I still assume that's the direction they go in because, well, first of all, are the Revival even in the match? I don't think they are. Because we're getting Roode and Ziggler, the New Day, the Usos. I think the Usos are in there. I don't know. Let me look at the card real quick. It's going to bother me. I don't think the Revival are even in that match, and they're not done with the company. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they're not in the match. Let's see here. Who are the fucking teams? All right, so they have Roode and Ziggler, Heavy Machinery, Lucha House. Yeah, the Revival aren't even in the match. How the fuck did the Lucha House Party get a title shot before the Revival? Because they're leaving, probably, but I don't know. It just seems strange to me. Anyway, I assume that's still the direction they're going in, is that fatal 4-way tag team match, but we will soon see. Then we had another fucking contract signing between Shinsuke Nakamura and Braun Strowman. We literally just saw one 4 days before this on Raw. Do they even watch their own shit? Like, what the fuck, dude? How the fuck does that happen? How do you get 2 contract signings in the span of 1 week? If they did a contract signing on Dynamite, that would have been crazy. But thankfully, they went with a weigh-in instead for the Moxley-Jericho match as opposed to a contract signing. Kudos to AEW for that. But we had another contract signing. This is terrible. Oh, the heels stood tall. First of all, why the fuck is Shinsuke Nakamura getting another shot at the Intercontinental Championship? That makes no sense. The guy has literally not won a televised match on this fucking show since December 13th. Almost 3 months ago, 2.5 months ago. What the fuck? Who gives a shit about Shinsuke Nakamura at this point? How can you possibly care about the trio of Cesaro, Sami, and Shinsuke if they have literally not won a match in almost 3 months? There's no such thing as automatic rematches anymore, right? For former champions. So why are they doing a rematch? That makes no sense. This sucked. Again, I know Nakamura, Cesaro, Sami stood tall. Who gives a shit? No one actually believes that Braun is losing that championship to Nakamura at the pay-per-view next week. There's no way. They're obviously headed towards either a singles match or a three-way with Bryan and Sheamus, or just Sheamus. I don't know. I would prefer just Sheamus, but that's just me. I've heard they may be doing Sheamus and Daniel Bryan. If so, God save us all. I mean, the match I'm sure would be good, but been there, done that. Move the fuck on. As a regular TV match, it's fine. As a WrestleMania program that they've tried to do at WrestleMania now for literally years. They wanted to do it. They did it at WrestleMania 27. It turned into like a battle royal on the kickoff show. They did it at WrestleMania 28. They tried to do it at WrestleMania 30. They tried to do it at WrestleMania 31. Give it the fuck up. No one wants to see Bryan versus Sheamus at WrestleMania. I love both guys. I have zero desire, zero interest in another Bryan Sheamus full-fledged program, especially at WrestleMania. Anyway, this was just, I don't even know what to say at this point. Who can possibly give a shit about Braun? I mean, Braun I can say. Shinsuke, who fucking cares? Elias was nowhere to be seen on this show. I know he was recently feuding with those guys, which is why I mentioned that, but man, I just thought this was a complete waste of time. I don't even know what they said. I wasn't even paying attention. I just thought this was a total waste. I should mention this because I talked about it last week. The SmackDown static. I think I said on Wednesday's hashtag AskGSM, I definitely said it on the show here last week, that I thought it would be Killer Kross. Because it seemed like he signed for more than just a trip in NXT, a run in NXT. And that was the whole Dave Meltzer report. And he doesn't always get everything right, but to me that would make sense. He would bypass NXT, and he would go straight to the main roster in time for WrestleMania. Either I saw some people saying maybe face John Cena. Obviously, that didn't happen. But I thought the static may have been for him. It obviously is not. It became very clear when we saw it on the show, when they showed not just the static, but like the light thing. It's obviously Ali. Which is great. I love to see Ali back, but I was kind of getting my hopes up for like a Mustafa Ali. For a Killer Kross debut, but maybe it's for the better. And we also got a vignette for Killer Kross, I would assume, on Wednesday's NXT, with all the destruction and whatnot. I mean, that's got to be for Killer Kross. So it might be for the better that he's going to NXT first, just because if he goes to SmackDown, again, God spare his soul, because I doubt he would be booked properly. But we'll see where they go with the Ali thing. I think he probably ends up in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania, which is a shame to say, but I don't know what else you do with the guy unless he faces like Daniel Bryan or something, which could be interesting. I think I've said that before, but it'll probably end up being Ali now that Killer Kross, the vignettes have already started airing for him on NXT. What was the other thing I wanted to mention? Oh yeah, Jeff Hardy was also announced for Tuesday's episode of Backstage. That kind of came out of nowhere. Because usually they announce like, someone from the main roster or an official, like they've had Stephanie on before, they had Keith Lee on a couple weeks ago. Jeff Hardy, just all of a sudden out of nowhere, is coming back to WWE programming, kind of, on Backstage this Tuesday on FS1. We have not seen Jeff Hardy since May of last year, late April, when he and Jeff vacated the SmackDown Tag Team titles due to injury. And I don't even think he's been good to go till now. I know he had his run-ins with like the law and whatever, and he was arrested and all that other shit. And I'm sure that played a factor in WWE not rushing him back, because he's got to figure out that shit first. Because it was like not once, but it was twice. He had like a DUI, then he was, intoxicated in public, I think. It was multiple things that he had to deal with. He had to, he was supposed to be at the, what's it called? The thing that I was at a couple months ago, November, at New York City. It was that not contract signing. No, I'm saying the autograph signing with Seth Rollins and Becky. Ringside Fest. He was supposed to be there, and they pulled him because of the whole issues with the law thing, which sucked. So he is coming back this Tuesday. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest with you. I think he has a court date set for like the day after WrestleMania. I mean, I guess he can come back to SmackDown and that wouldn't really matter. But it just seems like an odd time to bring him back. Like, we have the Elimination Chamber next Sunday. Like, what are you really going to do with Jeff Hardy before Mania? I don't see him ending up in a major match on the show. So it just seems weird. Maybe they're testing the waters before he comes back after WrestleMania. He may not be 100% yet, but I heard he was backstage at SmackDown last week, that he's been training for a return. So I thought he would be not back anytime soon, because he had a court date set for like the day after WrestleMania. But hey, WWE don't give a shit. They don't give a fuck. So, interesting. I love Jeff Hardy. It's going to be cool to see him back. Hopefully he is healthy, physically and mentally. But, again, I would probably bring him back to the show after Mania, because the timing is funny, because Matt Hardy's contract is reportedly set to expire on Monday. Monday. I think it's Monday, because he's teased 3-2-2-0, so that would be Monday. It's interesting, because Jeff's contract was supposed to expire at that time, and it obviously will not, because he's missed so much time due to injury. he can't leave at least for like a year. Like, that would be my guess. He's missed so much time, almost a year. His contract may not expire until like early 2021. Not that he would probably want to leave anyway. I think he more so than Matt would do better in the WWE environment. You know, when Matt was out, they used Jeff Hardy. When Jeff was out, they didn't use Matt Hardy. It sucks because I love Matt, but it doesn't really seem like they have much interest in pushing Matt Hardy on his own or doing the woking thing anymore for whatever reason. Jeff will be just fine. I don't see him leaving at all. Matt, I do actually. I said before I thought he would re-sign, but I'm not as positive. I'm not as certain as I once was. I really don't know. But Jeff will be fine. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's mega over on his own. They've always shown interest in pushing Jeff Hardy. It sucks for Matt, but maybe he'll discuss that. Who knows? Not being pushed over Matt Hardy, but the fact that his brother's contract just, recently expired. Maybe he'll challenge Randy Orton, because what kind of brother would he be if he saw all these attacks happening and he didn't come to his brother's aid to get exact revenge on Randy Orton because of what he did to Matt Hardy? And, he has ties to Edge, too, so it would make sense. But, again, they might... I would assume they're bringing him back to SmackDown and not Raw. Just because he is on the backstage show, which kind of features more SmackDown stuff than Raw stuff from what I've seen anyway. I would love if CM Punk was on the show. I think that would be very interesting. Punk has not been on the show since, I think, the February 11th episode, I want to say. I don't know when he'll be back. He's usually on the pre-pay-per-view shows. And I'm not surprised he wasn't on the pre-Super Showdown show because, of what he said about Saudi Arabia on multiple occasions. But hey, we have a pay-per-view next Sunday. So he very well could be on the show this Tuesday. We have not gotten any announcement that he will be. I feel like by now he would have said something if he was. But I would love to see an interaction between CM Punk and Jeff Hardy on WWE programming. That would be amazing given their history inside and outside the ring. Going back to SmackDown, though, I'm way off track here. Daniel Bryan beat Curtis Axel. Okay. Drew Gulak was on commentary. I guess I thought they might be teasing like a partnership, some sort of mentorship, with Gulak mentoring Heath Slater. But clearly they were just doing that to get to Bryan and Gulak at some point, which, because Gulak was on commentary here trying to mentor Curtis Axel. It didn't work, obviously. Axel scored more offense than I thought he would. It was a decent little match. The outcome was never in doubt, but it was a fine match. Bryan could not be any more directionless right now, but, that doesn't surprise me because I do assume he's either facing Braun or... That's the thing. I would have had him face Killer Cross. I'm not really sure what else you do with Bryan if he's not in the IC title picture. But, Gulak, hey, that ain't happened at WrestleMania. Maybe on the kickoff show, but it not happen on the main card of WrestleMania. So it's clearly just an interim feud. Probably Elimination Chamber, if I had to guess. Which, hey, you know what? Cool. They're getting Gulak back on the show. Not that he's a threat to anyone anyway, but I think these guys could work really well together and have a very fun match if given the time it deserves. So it looks like that's what they're building to. I would assume next Sunday at the pay-per-view. But as far as this shit goes, yeah, it ain't going to WrestleMania. I don't know what they have planned for Bryan at WrestleMania. I read that the initial plan was to have him included in the Intercontinental title picture, but that was before plans changed and the entire SmackDown side of the WrestleMania card got blown up by Vince McMahon. So I'm not really sure what they have in mind for Bryan at this point, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him involved in that IC title picture. I don't really want him to be just because it feels random. Killer Cross was my guess, but hey, Bryan and Mustafa Ali could be pretty kick-ass too. So we'll see. John Morrison and The Miz, the all-new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, out in the ring to celebrate their championship victory from Thursday. I thought that was very entertaining. And then it went all downhill from there for them. So it was announced that they will defend their newly won SmackDown Tag Team titles against 5 other teams in an Elimination Chamber match next Sunday. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. This makes no sense. And if Miz and Morrison win, I don't even know what to say. The thing is, it's a lose-lose, really. Because they just won the titles. They should not lose them anytime soon. And you might be asking yourself, then why are you complaining? Just have them retain. Dude, the Elimination Chamber, you know how many people have successfully retained their championships inside Elimination Chamber? This pay-per-view is so poorly timed. Because the only person to win a championship inside Elimination Chamber in the last literally 10 years, not counting the 2010 installment, the only person to win or any championship inside the chamber that wasn't already vacant was Bray Wyatt 3 years ago. That's it. It's ridiculous. ridiculous. The amount of people that have successfully defended their championships inside the chamber. The odds are supposed to be stacked against them. If it happens once in a while, fine. It literally happens every fucking year. It happened last year with Daniel Bryan. It happened, 6 years ago with Randy Orton. It happened with Alexa Bliss 2 years ago with the Raw Women's Championship. It happened in 2011 with Edge. It happened in 2012 with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. That's like 5 or 6 times in the span of 10 years. What the fuck? What the fuck? I really do not... I mean, why the hell are the Lucha House Party getting a title shot before the Revival? I know backstage politics and whatnot have something to do with that, but it just doesn't make any sense. So the Usos going to beat Miz and Morrison here. Why? Because again, fuck you, that's why. And someone had tweeted, I got to mention this, someone that does tattoos for the WWE Superstars had tweeted out on Friday, why did the new champions just lose in their first match as champions? Does WWE want to kill their characters? Bray Wyatt, despite not being tagged in the tweet, responded and said yes. So unless he was being sarcastic, which it didn't really seem like he was, it was a one-word tweet. Unless Daniel Bryan hacked his account, it really seemed like he was being genuine when he said that. And he just doesn't give a fuck. He does not give a shit, and I don't blame him. Why the hell would you have Miz and Morrison lose? Literally, within a day of becoming champions. That is so stupid. I questioned it a couple weeks ago when they had him lose to Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan for literally no reason, but they pulled that shit again here. And John Morrison was the one who got pinned too. The guy has been protected by and large since he came back. He hasn't been pinned at all, blah, blah, blah. And he got pinned here! I mean, granted, after like a Samoan Destroyer and then a splash, that looked awesome, don't get me wrong. The match was good. The issue is that, first of all, why the fuck would you blow off the Usos versus Miz and Morrison on TV? That can be a pay-per-view worthy match at some point, and they just gave it away on free TV. What the fuck? I know I've said that a lot on this show, but like, there were so many moments from the show that made me like, just shake my head, because it's so stupid. Why would you do that? And they wonder why no one is special. I mean, come on, it's booking 101. You book the champions to at least win their first match. The Usos are already getting a title shot at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Right? Yeah, they are in the Chamber match. I keep forgetting who's in it. So why do they have to beat the champions? This was ridiculous. This was so stupid. Even dumber than that, we had John Cena out next. And, John Cena's not dumb. Don't get my words twisted. I thought the promo that Cena cut was great. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand. He was all emotional, teasing that he may not be in action at WrestleMania because he wants to give up his spot on the Mania card for the younger guys. And then the Fiend surfaces, as we all expected him to, in the final few seconds of the show. The lights go out, they come back on. He's right behind John Cena. He points to the WrestleMania sign. Cena nods, and we get our match for WrestleMania. Who gives a fuck? This makes no sense. First of all, yeah, they could play off of Wyatt having history with Cena, and that's all well and dandy. I said this before, I will say it again. Wyatt and Cena only really works, in my opinion, if it's for the championship. Yeah, you can play out the history. Cena's chasing number 17. He doesn't even have to win. Like, I know people were saying, he doesn't want to win the title. Don't have him win the title. He doesn't have to win the title. Why not just have him lose? He should lose. I don't know. Doing the match anyway, yeah, Wyatt will probably win. Because if he doesn't, the guy might as well just quit. If he can't beat Goldberg or John Cena, just quit. Just my issue, not just with the match itself, was with the way that this was set up. Yeah, it's refreshing to an extent that Wyatt didn't do the old predictable thing where he just attacks the person and then we get our match. Why the hell did Bray Wyatt come out and point at the WrestleMania sign? You can do that when you win the Rumble. I know people aspire to do that their entire lives. It's a cool thing. Whatever. Ronda Rousey doing it a couple years ago when she debuted. It looked dumb then. It's even dumber now with someone that looks as scary as The Fiend pointing to the WrestleMania sign. It may sound trivial. It may sound small and stupid. But it's fucking dumb. It's really dumb. I'm not saying that it killed him dead. I joked about that on Twitter, that it killed him dead, and pointing to the WrestleMania sign. It just looks so stupid. It was a dumb visual. And Cena, all of it, that doesn't even account for the fact that Cena literally just said 30 seconds earlier, I'm not wrestling at WrestleMania. I want to give my spot up for someone younger on the card. And then he agrees to face him at WrestleMania. What changed in the span of 30 seconds? Because you want to bury Bray Wyatt again? Because that's where it all went downhill for Wyatt the first time 6 years ago. I hated this. I did not like this entire show. The sad thing is that this was the better show, the best episode of SmackDown in weeks. But the issue is that it made me so pissed off was that really how good of a show was it? Because the booking on SmackDown right now is fucking abysmal. Again, I apologize for all the swearing, but this show sucked. Roman and Goldberg, the way that it's set up was terrible. The way they set up Cena and Wyatt was terrible. The tag team champions lost. Sasha Banks feels like a complete afterthought. I do not give a fuck about Nakamura and Strowman Part 32, and they've only had 1 or 2 other matches. But why the hell is the feud continuing? No one gives a shit. Bryan's directionless. I know why they're doing that, but I don't know. SmackDown is in a very bad state right now. I really don't know what else to say. This show is not good. I would not waste my time going back to watch this show. Yeah, it was newsworthy that they set up matches and blah, blah, blah. Man, I know Cena came back and he got a great reaction and all this other stuff, but it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs right now on SmackDown. Just because you look at the card up and down right now. The tag team division has talent. They're booking the champions to feel like any other team in that division. Bayley's reign has sucked. The mid-card division is completely... There is no mid-card division. It's Braun and Nakamura, and really that's it. Elias maybe, and that's about it. Reigns and Goldberg, the way they set it up, and after everything that happened on Thursday, I just don't care as much as they probably should. Cena and Wyatt, Cena and The Fiend, I don't know, dude. It's better than Cena and Elias, I will tell you that much, and Wyatt will probably win. And that's great, but what does that even mean? Because Wyatt will go on to face Roman right after WrestleMania and lose. So any momentum he gains from beating John Cena will be wasted anyway. Because what else do you do with the guy? He's already beaten everyone else on SmackDown, it seems like, for the most part. I don't know. It's a very weird time right now on SmackDown, and it's not good. I'll tell you that much. This show sucked. I mean, people may be able to defend it like, oh, this was good, that was good. Yeah, they had a couple good matches. But overall, I just thought the show was a complete fucking... Not that it was a waste, because shit actually happened for once, but it wasn't shit that we wanted to see happen. So I guess be careful what you wish for. But that's my 2 cents, or more than 2 cents, a whole $10 on SmackDown from Friday night. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out the review. I went longer with this than I was hoping for, just because I got to get going. I got to get ready for Evolve in a little bit. Hopefully this does go up before I leave. But nonetheless, be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. We will be back tomorrow with my review of the latest WWE 24 special on R-Truth. Just watched it yesterday. Fantastic stuff. So definitely check out the special and my review right here on the channel tomorrow. Obviously, another SmackDown review probably coming next Saturday, though I'm not 100% sure, just because I'm leaving even earlier next week to go to the big event in New York City. So I don't even know if I'll do a SmackDown review next week. And hey, maybe it's for the better, because this show has been so abysmal now for so long that I can't possibly give a shit. But I'm not sure if that will be up next week. But in the coming days, you could check out my review of the WWE 24 on R-Truth, the Ruthless Aggression Show, Episode 4, coming up on Monday. Alexis and I taste testing the WWE ice cream bars, the sandwiches, whatever, on Tuesday, hashtag AskGSM, WrestleRant Radio Excerpt, Ms. and Mrs. Reviews. A lot to look forward to right here on the channel, so subscribe today and hit that notifications button so you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. All that being said, guys, I got to head out to Evolve. Looking forward to meeting Keith Lee, Rhea Ripley, and everyone else at Evolve tonight in New York City. Should be a great time. Enjoy AEW Revolution tonight. Hopefully it's much better than this show. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.